What's up, guys? We are back again for some more One Piece action. Today we got my live reaction to chapter 1115 entitled Continental Fragments. All right, so if you guys remember at the end of the last chapter, we had Vegapunk finally revealing the existence of Joy Boy to the world, stating that he was from the Void Century, he was from the Ancient Kingdom, and that he was the first man to set out to the sea and be called a pirate. So Joy Boy officially confirmed first pirate. Now, is he the first pirate king? Or was that something that came about after he left a legacy for people to find? Are we going to get more info? Let's jump into this chapter and find out. Let me know. All right, so on the cover page, what do we got? So it looks like we got Yamato. It says Oni Child Yamato and the Holy Inari Shrine Pilgrimage, Volume 5. Getting a bento from Hiyori and Otoko. All right, so pretty cool. We got Yamato cheesing it up in the background right there. We got Otoko, always smiling. But let's get to what we're really here for. Let's see what this chapter entails. All right. Okay, we're going right back to Wano. So it says the flower capital Wano. The news shakes Wano too. All right. So now that, Luffy has gone there and has liberated Wano, they have a little bit more of a connection to the outside world, at least as far as not being cut off from the information coming from the outside world. They're not affiliated with the world government still, but let's see. All right. It's hard to believe this foreign transmission is reaching us. Now, you may be wondering how he came to be known as a pirate. All right, we are gonna get it. Sounds like Vegapunk's got a little bit of an answer. All right, it says, and they're like, we found the snail in the castle among Orochi's possessions. All right, so it makes sense that Orochi, would have a snail capable of receiving information from the outside world, since he didn't have that limitation put on him. But you know, he's good for him to kind of stay abreast of what's going on in the world and seeing kind of how he could use that info to put the Navy in a precarious position. How they wanted the Kairoseki, and he's like, oh, you got to give me Vegapunk next time. That kind of stuff. But now, of course, now that Momo is taking charge of it, he's going to use it for the betterment of the entire country, not just for his own personal gain. So we see Momo over there. He's stuffing his face. He's like, so you were a pirate, Joy Boy, just like Luffy. All right. And then we see Kinemon. He's like, you know of him, my lord? And we got Shinobu in the background over there. We got Tama. All right, then where are we going? It says a jail cell at the G4 Naval Base. All right, who do we got right here? It says X fake. Okay, so these are the guys that were at Saboti, coming back from the 2 year time skip. These are the fake Straw Hat Pirates, I'm guessing. Joy Boy, who cares? I bet you could easily beat him, right, Captain Kid? Duh, the man's already dead. That's our captain. The only thing bigger than his confidence is his belly. Yeah, I'm clearly a million times tougher than this Joy Toy. It's Joy Boy, boss. It's Joy Boy. All right, so these guys are still clowns, Demalo Black. I'm wondering why we're seeing him of all people. But anyways, okay, cutting back. Looks like this is on one of the battleships surrounding Egghead right here. And Vegapunk's like, do bear in mind, I only have access to a handful of poneglyphs. All right, so we already know that, the real history is contained on the real poneglyphs, but there are little tidbits contained on all of the regular poneglyphs. So, Vegapunk, he was able to get his hands on what seems to be a few of the regular poneglyphs. None of the real poneglyphs, it seems like, or maybe one of the real poneglyphs, and definitely none of the road poneglyphs. All right, then what does he say? He says, but their combined narrative clearly chronicles an unbelievable history about a great war in the distant past. Oh man. So do you guys think we're like gonna cut back and get like a flashback to Joy Boy and see like kind of how this whole war started, or is that gonna be saved maybe later when we get to Elbaf? What are you guys feeling? All right, epic shot though. Okay, now what do we got? It says during that period, Joy Boy faced an enemy, the organization known as the World Government. What? Isn't that us? Well, he did say he was a pirate. So all the Navy people, they're like, wait, he faced the World Government. Oh, wait, that's us, right? We're like, well, it makes sense. He was a pirate, right? Okay. And then we see, okay, they're like Vegapunk. We got Luffy and Dory and Broggy, still running from their lives right now. It says back then, they were merely the allied powers, a temporary coalition consisting of 20 separate kingdoms. All right. So the question is, what made these 20 kingdoms come together, and overthrow Joy Boy, erase the Void Century, and even amongst those 20 kingdoms, we know that there was still some dissidents, as far as the Nefertari family, they kind of betrayed Emu. It seems like they kept the D going. and that's the whole reason the D is persisted is because of whatever Nefertari Lily did. So kind of curious. Okay, we're going back in the labo phase. It looks like everything's still all busted up, and then okay, you see all the Denden Mushis that have been like knocked out or killed right now. They're still trying to stop this message any way that they can. And then what do we got? Okay, this is a cool shot. So we see Vegapunk right there. We see what looks like, I'm guessing, the original Joy Boy, and it says, "It can be assumed that an alliance was the only feasible way to oppose the formidable faction to which Joy Boy belonged. I am afraid that the cause of this conflict still eludes me, so I do not presume to judge the morality of the combatants. I can, however, say that this war was a clash of two opposing ideologies." All right, and then we see Zunisha over there. I mentioned earlier that Joy Boy was born into a fantastical civilization. We see the dot 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 coming from Zoe in the New World. Okay, so we get to see the Minx listening in, and one so advanced that it is hard to believe it existed over 900 years ago. Yeah, so as far as Egghead and technology, they're the island of the future, but here's Vegapunk being like, that civilization was even more advanced than we are, and it's crazy to believe that it existed 900 years ago in the past. So, like, everything from that era has been erased because we're still trying to catch up to what happened 900 years ago. All right, and then we got the new, king of the Minx right there, Carrot. It says the weapons that existed during this century-long struggle are far beyond our modern science. All right, so he's talking about the ancient weapons, and they're all like, "Wow, that's amazing." Okay, now what do we got? Oh, we got Foxy over here. And he's like, "What's that peanut-headed fool saying?" "Oh, boss, you're making me hungry." All right, so they're out on the sea. It seems like still struggling along. And then he says, Vegapunk, "Such technology is baffling even to a genius such as myself. So big headed." All right. And therein lies our problem. All right. So Vegapunk is just sitting there, his hands crossed. He's like, "That's our problem right now. You know, I'm the smartest man in the world, and I still can't even come close to understanding the technologies from back then." All right. So Labo Stratum looking pretty rough right now. Dome has been cut. There's holes in the ceiling, building destroyed. All right. Okay, what do we got? Stussy. Huh? It's me, Edison. All right. So we still got Kaku over there. He's all bandaged up too. All right. What does Stussy got for us? "Lower the barrier and hightail it out of there." But I can't. What if something were to happen to the Straw Hat crew? All right. So Stussy staying behind trying to help out. He's like, "I'm going to be straight with you. There ain't no point in the barrier no more. Not when there are monsters on the island who can ignore it." All right, so he's like, "Yo, just get out of there. That barricade is not gonna do anything more. Like, true monsters have showed up on the island that will not be deterred by all of our defenses. So don't waste your time on it right now." And then Edison's like, "We've done all we can for them. Uh, sure they'll make it. I'm sure they'll make it somehow." All right, so he's looking in pretty rough condition. He sacrificed himself. He extended the cloud so that the Thousand Sunny could make it actually into the water right there. And then what do we got? Okay, we got Jinbei still carrying Zoro, and he's like, "How much longer, Jinbei? My apologies. We're almost there. There's nothing to apologize for. We were busy. Uh, is that you, Zoro? You're gonna get it later." All right, so they're like, "Damn it, Zoro! You're stalling us over there fighting with Lucci." And then okay, we got Nami. She's like, "Now hurry up! They're moving their ships to blockade the northeast coast. So they got this window right now. They got to hurry up. They got the giant ship over there, but Navy is quickly moving the ships around to try and cut them off again." All right, man. You see this giant LBAF ship right there. It looks awesome. They're like, "I'll never forgive you if we get blasted out of the water after all this." All right, so they've been through hell. They're fighting the Gorosei. They're taking out the massive Buster Call that's going on right now. They're trying to save Vegapunk. CP0 is still in the mix. Like, we had the Pacifistas, we had the Seraphim. Like, Egghead is just going nuts right now. Okay, what do we got? Okay, so Stussy over here. "That's good to hear. I was worried Stella would never forgive me if I let them get caught." And then, as if, "Now get your ass out of there." All right, "but I don't know what to do with myself." Huh? "Now that Stella's gone, who am I?" Okay, so Stussy's having a little bit of an existential crisis, being that Vegapunk created her. Now that he's dead, she's like, "Who is my loyalty to? Who do I who do I live for? What am I meant to live for? I have no purpose. And then we kind of see Kaku, listening, kind of, he's all bandaged up, but he's listening to what Stussy has to say. And at one point, Stussy and him were comrades. So even though she betrayed him, maybe once he kind of hears and understands like how she came to be, her creation, he'll understand the betrayal a little bit, maybe even sympathize with her. What are you guys thinking? Okay, we got Bonnie. We're cutting over to Bonnie. We got Sanji on the ground right there. Was that Oimo and Kashi, I think? Don't let him use his sword. This geezer can cut anything. All right, so they're still dealing with Noshijuro over there and his like, I forget what horse form or whatever it is. And man, he's got this like intense look on his face, like he's trying to just kill everyone. He's trying to kill Bonnie. And then he's like, sense the living voices. All right, so they're still trying to cut out this message before any more information about Joy Boy can be sent to the rest of the world. All right. Oh, did he take out Bonnie right there? No, who is that? I can't really tell. So okay, no, so he's going in for Bonnie right there. And they're like, Bonnie, get down. And we just see this massive slash. We see Frankie going towards Bonnie, trying to grab her and get her out of the way. All right, man, they're not playing around right now. And then, okay, it looks like Bonnie used her power and kind of shrunk herself into like a little kid to kind of avoid getting taken out. And then we see that Slash just like completely took the mast of the giant ship off. So now there's this giant like bull skull, falling down right now. All right, and then we see Frankie. He's right on top of Bonnie. He's like, I can't maintain distorted future for very long. Okay, so in the past couple chapters, we've seen Bonnie use her ability to create a distorted future. She did the distorted future Nika, where she was able to kind of look almost like how Luffy is, like where he gets like really big and throws a massive punch. So, but obviously that's very taxing for her. And again, remember, Bonnie is actually a 10-year-old little girl. I think is her age. So the fact that she's even able to hold her own right now is a miracle. But it makes sense that trying to do it at this level, this power level is very taxing on her, and she can't maintain the form for very long. And then okay, we got Vegapunk. He's like, the Void Century ended with Joy Boy's defeat, and then it cuts. We see the big armor that's right there. We see Zunisha. And if you guys remember, every time we kind of been introduced to an ally of Joy Boy, the first thing that seems to come out of their mouths is, I'm sorry, Joy Boy, like my bad, Joy Boy. And it makes you wonder, like, why did they betray Joy Boy if they were his allies, especially if now they're coming to aid, what is essentially his reincarnation. So what happened? I have a theory cooking in my mind as to why, or kind of how it came about that they may have turned their backs on Joy Boy. I think it has to do with Emu and maybe the misspread of information, or really looking at what the Nika Devil Fruit really is, and it's more than just the power of a god. I think it's somewhere along the lines of an even greater power source than that of the Mother Flame, or whatever the original Mother Flame used to be. And maybe the threat of that is what Emu kind of convinced the other 20 kingdoms, like, we got to put a stop to him. They even convinced Joy Boy's allies, like, hey, we're not the dangerous one. This dude's got even more crazy power. Like, look at what he can do. He can power up this big suit of armor. Like, you guys need to realize he's the dangerous one that can destroy the world. So help us stop him. Something like that, maybe. But anyways, now we see he's like, how much do you intend to save, Vegapunk? And then, okay, so maybe he's heading off. Maybe he sensed where that final life form is that's sending this message right now. And they're like, he's leaving. Okay, what do we got? Oh, okay. So he's like, there are too many life forms up here. All right. So we see him. He's kind of heading up to the top of the Labos phase. And then Vegapunk's like, but the aftermath had grander consequences. And then bro just like, I swear this looks like he just sent like this massive slash, and the big cloud that the Labo phase is sitting on looks like he just cut it in half. I swear that's what it looks like right now. It's like the wake of the ancient conflict scarred the world, and those scars never healed. Oh man. And they're like, look at all the Cipher Pol agents that were captured. They're like, what the? Even the Seraphim, they're kind of looking on like, oh, what the hell is going on right here? And then we see, okay, so Cipher Pol guys are falling down now that the thing has been cut. They're like, Vegapunk, continues on with his message. We all know travel between islands can be excruciatingly difficult. The seas one must traverse are so vast and perilous, most people are content to live and die at their place of birth, never experiencing any culture other than their own. All right, so maybe prior to whatever this great war was, like there was no crazy weather between islands, there was no calm belts, they were able to freely move. What do you guys think? They're like, this isn't that a bit obvious? Yeah, everyone knows the seas are dangerous. That is common knowledge to us now, but it wasn't like that 1,000 years ago. Yo, a cataclysmic ecological disaster occurred during the Void Century. I'm guessing that was from maybe the use of the ancient weapons, something like that. It says, and the ancient world was swallowed by the ocean. And we're getting this crazy shot. Looks like we're underwater. There's a sea king, big eye. We got manta rays, fish everywhere. Like, this is looking epic. And it says, and the ancient world was swallowed by the ocean. We are now living atop the remnants, continental fragments of the land masses that once were. All right, so maybe before there wasn't even islands, there was like actual continents. And then we see Ivankov and the revolutionaries are like, what? They're freaking out. They're like, what? Say what? And then we see Sabo over there. Okay, and it says, the world of a millennium ago sleeps unseen at the bottom of the ocean. All right, so it makes sense if you guys remember when Jinbei them were part of Big Mom's crew or on their way to go pay homage to Big Mom. Wadatsumi was dragging a poneglyph with him, and they said they found this poneglyph in a sea that was at the bottom of the ocean. Well, it kind of makes sense, when they were putting out the poneglyphs, if they sent them to nations that were above sea level at the time, but then got sunk because of rising sea levels and stuff like that. That explains why we had that poneglyph on the bottom of the ocean. Now, what do we got? It says, I know it's hard to believe on my word alone, but there really were multiple vast continents back. Yup. All right. So, it kind of makes sense, especially since, we've had references to this kind of stuff happening or this type of theory, the whole Pangea Castle. Pangea was a mega continent, millions of years ago or whatever in our world. This is insane. Hey, Nojiko, where do you think you're going? The whole world is at stake. All right. And then what does Nojiko got to say? She's like, fill me in later. I've got to check on the tangerine orchard. So she's like, I got priorities. I got to go check on my tangerines right there. Okay, cutting back to Vegapunk again. All right. This change in the world helps explain how a century of history could be censored. All right. So if the lands that were, kind of the primary locations of these battles or, kingdoms, if they got swallowed by the sea, it makes sense that it's a lot easier to erase them from history. And then a feat that seems nigh impossible, but it makes sense when you consider the undeniable conclusion all the data points to. Within a mere century, the average sea level rose by a staggering 200 meters. Damn. Okay, so yeah, like if it rose 200 meters in 1,000 years, in another 1,000 years, there's gonna be nothing left except for maybe what's on top of the red line. And then we see, all right, the Navy people, they're like, what? You're kidding. 200 meters. Like, they're freaking out. All right. They're like, a warship's only 60 meters tall. No wonder the old world disappeared. Hey, stop listening to this crap. We got work to do. They're like, yo, don't get distracted. We still got, a mission here on Egghead right now. This is the naval personnel. They're like, the Seraphim and all those imprisoned Cipher Pol agents were spotted falling out of the lab building. We've got to rescue them. All right, now the Noshiro, he like sliced the entire place in half. People are falling out. They're like, yo, we got to go rescue our guys now. And then what do we got over here? All right, did you hear that? His tall tales keep getting taller. The old farts lost his marbles. What a joke! All right, and we see everyone. They just think it's this big joke. They're like, there's no way that's possible. But little do they know. Okay, going back to Chopper's hometown, Sakura Kingdom. We got King Dalton over there. He's like, is this really possible? And then Kureha, she's back there laughing it up. She's like, even now, the world still finds a way to keep things interesting. All right, so kind of cool. She's pretty old as far as the One Piece world and living people. So she's seeing it. And then they're like, that mountain is around 200 meters. You're saying something that tall would be submerged. That's awful. How many people died? All right. So this really makes you think about, Arlong's plan, all the way back in the East Blue as far as mapping, the ocean floors and using the ocean currents and everything that he had Nami working on. Like, he was kind of on the right track, doing something underneath the ocean that would have potentially led to him discovering, some of these secrets, but being out of the sight of the world government. So, if he had kept on and not been such an evil dick, who knows what he would have possibly discovered, right? Okay, what do we got? That begs the question, how and why did such a flood occur? Naturally, your first inclination might be to assume it was some kind of natural disaster, which, given what he just said about the most recent earthquake, I think we can kind of eliminate that possibility. He's like, however, I can say for certain that it was no such thing. It was a man made calamity. All right, which one of the ancient weapons, or was it all three of the ancient weapons that caused this? And then, we see Big News Morgans. We got his hot airship over there, and he's like losing it because he's like, man, you're dropping the scoop on like the biggest story in the world. Like, that's my job, Vegapunk. What you doing? And then we see Vivi over there. She's like, shut up. I'm trying to listen. If this catastrophe was brought about by natural means, there would be records denoting early warning signs several centuries earlier. All right, makes sense. Um, especially when it comes to things happening on the planet, they usually don't just happen in a day. There's usually warning signs for decades or centuries, for planetary level events. And then it says, it was a severe world altering event after all, but all my research into meteorology, geology, ecology, and atmospheric science confirmed that there was no such natural buildup. All right, so smart as Vegapunk is, he looked into all these different, avenues of science, and between all of them, he couldn't find a single clue that, would have indicated that an event like this should have happened. All right, what do we got? He's like, it is impossible for such a drastic change to happen spontaneously within the span of a mere 100 years. Yep. Meaning the cause lies elsewhere. My suspicions were confirmed a few days ago when I analyzed the world's current sea levels. All right, so what does he got? And then, okay, so we're seeing this cut into some of the Gorosei. This will be hard to accept, but that disaster 800 years ago was caused by ancient weapons technology capable of sinking the world. All right, we've already heard kind of this like definition or, description of the ancient weapons, when we were talking about Pluton and Shirahoshi's ability to control the Sea Kings, they described it as a power capable of sinking the world. So confirmed. And he's like, and that very same firepower evidently still exists, just waiting to be used again. In other words, the Great War, which ravaged the world during the Void Century, is about to repeat itself. No, is still ongoing. We cut the Emu, and Emu does not look happy. He got the eyes right there and it says, the genius sheds light on a forgotten history. Damn. Okay. So, what are you guys thinking about this chapter? Vegapunk, he's over here dropping knowledge that the world is literally sinking because of the war that happened, the use of the ancient weapons. I think we got a small glimpse of that when we saw what happened to Lelouch. Um, Again, we still don't know why Joy Boy, why the 20 kingdoms gathered against him to defeat him if what they were going to use to defeat him was going to end up destroying their world. Um, Again, it makes me think like, especially because Joy Boy's allies turned against him at some point during this battle, and that's possibly what caused him to lose. It makes me wonder, like, why would they turn their back on Joy Boy? He had the ancient weapons. He was part of the ancient kingdom. Maybe they didn't want to use them, but the 20 kingdoms got their hands on it and were able to use it. Or, something crazy. I don't know. Let me know what you guys are thinking down in the comments. Let me know kind of what your head canon is like for what we got. Are we going back to the Void Century? Are we gonna see it? Are we gonna have to wait till we get to Elbaf to kind of cut back? What do you guys think Toki's whole involvement and what her purpose now that we got a little more information on the Void Century and stuff like that? But yeah, this is an excellent chapter. Like I said, make sure you guys drop a comment, hit that like button, and have a wonderful day.